Excellent. Well, hey, listen, coaches, thanks for joining us tonight again for another e-clinic. We are excited to have Coach Anthony Stone on with us from Rockland Boylan up in Illinois. He's going to have 2 sessions tonight, so they'll be back to back. Coach will probably take a little 5-minute break in the middle, and then we will kick right into our second session. So our first session on offensive drills, becoming a star at all offensive positions, will kick us off, and then we'll intro the next session as we get into it. Coach Stone, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Oh, geez. Okay, here we go. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to first thank Glacier for letting me do this. I love speaking at Glacier. I love their hashtag they have, Coaches Win here. And it's, they have Coaches Win. But this clinic that right now I'm doing, the e-clinic, is the first one ever. Dan, I don't know about you, but we both have TV faces, so we're all good, right? So this is back to the basics, offensive drills, becoming a star at all offensive positions, okay? So before I start, this is what I want to do. I want to thank all the coaches, and maybe some are listening, that either coached with me, coached against me, or coached me as a player. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I want to thank everyone for that. Next thing, this little slide right here that you see, this is my places I have been. I've coached in many different places. I've coached at the collegiate level. I'm currently at Rockford Boylan High School. I've coached overseas with the Australian Outback team. I used to work for USA Football. And then I've done other things with women's football, tackle, and everything. In 2017, just give you a little brief history, I started my own company. If you want to go to it, it's CoachStoneFootball.com. The purpose of it, I created the Back to the Basics books. And that's what this all about is today. It's, it also does football camps. If you go to my website, it's pretty much skills and techniques to improve players' confidence through basic drills while having fun. And I always say fundamentals lays a foundation while utilizing the necessary skills to become a better athlete. Also, I want to thank everyone listening tonight, and it's going to be listening from now until whenever Glacier decides to take this off. I want to personally thank everyone for coaching and making a difference in lives of your players, both on and off the field. Okay, so here's the breakdown, okay? So I did my intro and I did my thank yous. If you coaches want any certain things here, I will be more than happy to send it to you. The information or resources, what we're going to start with first. Whenever I present at Glacier or any other place, I say the biggest thing to do is make sure before you leave a clinic, you get 2 things. If you can come out with 2 things tonight, I did my job. If you didn't, my name's Dan, the guy that was just helping you. That's my name, okay? Remember, we're going to talk about also coaches' responsibilities, the drill speed level I created, 6 steps to identify appropriate youth football drills. You can use that at any level, though, high school and college. A template drill that I created. What is scared? We'll go over that. Be a star in all offense positions. That's the whole reason we're here for. The advanced grid, group drills, football resources, and closing, and then we'll have a Q&A. So let's do this. Okay, so if you look at this, next time you go to a clinic, especially a Glacier one, and you're listening to a speaker like myself, what do you do now successful? And then what can you add to your program realistically? So at the end of the day, if you are a youth team and you have all big guys, you shouldn't be running huddle no huddle spread. If you're running that, it's not realistic. So when you go see someone speak, don't go to something that you're not going to learn from. You always want to do your time very wisely. So next time you're at a clinic, what do you do successful? And then what can you add to your program realistically? Next thing, what I would do is coach's responsibility. Teaching the game while coaching, more than a game. Lead by example, show players what having effects and integrity looks like. I think that's very vital for coaches. Oops, sorry. Okay, we're not going to do questions, because we're going to go right into stuff, okay? So, but if you do have questions, please, more than happy to put it on there. Next is the drill speed level. Who remembers watching your teammates run so much that they were marathon runners, not football players. If anybody else is like that in this group or listening later on, that's important because nowadays you don't see that. And that's why the drill speed level is so important. The drill speed level, first thing you do when you do a drill, I'm just going to show you guys all of them. 1, you do a walk through when you do a drill. Go through it slowly because you guys remember back when we were little, you would have a person and then all of a sudden they'd get something wrong. And then little Billy would run 2 laps around. You know, that's very important to understand that. Okay. Next, Next, make sure when you walk through a drill, you go through it with manipulatives, equipment, or without equipment. And then after you get done with that, you can start doing jogging. Jog through the drill one at a time, with equipment or without equipment. Zombie mode is very simple. And I know none of you coaches ever have a problem with the kid going full gore on pregame, right? No coach in here in this room or listening ever has a problem like that. So the biggest thing is this with zombie level is, let's say I give a half round or someone to somebody. If once he gets hit or if he comes through the line, he goes really slow. It's not 100% going. That's a zombie level. Full speed with wrap, that is pretty much you're going in. It's like doing team, hit the guy, keep him up, and then stop. You know, in game tempo, everyone knows. Drills. What makes a football drill good? It is the one that is beneficial to you and your players. When picking drills, ask yourself these next questions. The questions on the next screen. Because here's the thing. How many people remember, or please coaches, remember, if you do this drill, I apologize. My name's Dan. So laying down, helmet to helmet, drop the ball, guys get up really fast, and then tackle each other. If you remember now, if a player is like that, they're already down. So why would you even do that drill? Okay? So that's some questions you have to ask yourself with the drills you are coming up with. 6 ways to identify a drill. If you have a new coach and you want to copy this, just shoot me an email and I'll give you that information later. Okay? 1, get the name of the drill. Every drill, everyone, like drills have been made up for over 100 years now, you know, with football drills. So 1, ask your questions. What is the purpose of the drill? Does the drill relate to a game-like situation? Is it effective? Okay. Number 2, what skill is the coach trying to teach for that drill? What are you trying to accomplish? Does the drill have merit? For example, if we want to just do a drill to have kids run, it's not really helping. If that makes sense, coaches. Is the coach conducting a drill that teaches toughness? Now, I know you guys remember when we were playing when we were younger, no coach ever did that for us, right? You know, hey, Coach Stone, go run through that wall. And we'd say, okay, coach. Now, if you do that, what do they say? I'm going to tell my mommy on you, you know, or they're going to walk around and find a way to go around the wall. Number 4, how does speed and distance come into play? So if you are a youth kid or a youth coach and doing a drill with a youth player, and the player is, you're doing tackle for the first time 14 yards apart, 20 yards apart, and then they're coming at each other like rams, is that really help with that kid? 1, confidence, and 2, is that kid ever going to want to do that drill again? Does the drill lead to players being successful? So remember the drill we used to do when we first got equipment. It was either Oklahoma or it was two cones on top, 10 yards down, 2 cones, and then you would look. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I want that guy right there. Because what would happen if you missed? You would have to run. And that's not really helping that kid out. You know, so make sure you're doing drills where you can give positive feedback. And if you have to, modify it for certain players. Does the drill maximize participation? If you're that coach that does a drill where there's 2 people doing the drill and everyone watching, and it's not the end of practice, what are all those other kids learning at that time? That's the biggest question you have to ask yourself. Key football drills for offensive positions, okay? Scared. Stance, count, alignment, read, and effort. If you use the scared technique, don't be scared, for any program, one, for an offensive position, right? Can they get in their stance? Fix that first. And I know none of you coaches in here ever go on, never ever, always go on 1, right? You're always going on what? 1. You're always going on 1. You're not going on 2 and 3, okay? The biggest thing, too, is coaches, think about this. What is a whistle meant for? To stop. So why would you use a whistle to start a drill? Think about this. When you do your stretches and you blow a whistle, when you start a drill, you blow a whistle. The players know in the game, a whistle means stop. Try using a cadence. Have the quarterback do it. Have someone else do it. Make it a game. Alignment. How many times has your player ever not lined up properly? You know, another one, responsibility. Who do you have on this certain play? If all those 4 things can be answered right now, your offense is looking really good. Read. Who are you reading to either block, if someone's blitzing as a lineman, reading as a quarterback, reading a hole, or just reading the defense as a receiver? And then the last one, the biggest one I think, is effort. How many coaches love, no matter if they do the first ones, stance, count, alignment, responsibility, and effort. I'm sorry, responsibility and read. How many coaches love when a kid gives everything they got? Because I think that's very important. If a kid can give me maximum effort, I'm a very happy coach. No matter if I'm coaching flag football, coaching my daughter's soccer league, or coaching at the high school. I think that's extremely important. Effort is huge. And then the last thing you saw, keep it simple, small. You know, you don't need to have a huge playbook. Just keep it simple, small. I understand a lot of you coaches that are listening are awesome in Madden. And you could probably beat me in Madden because I don't play anymore, honestly. But here's what I would say to you. Just because you're great at Madden doesn't mean you're great at calling the offense or defense. So keep it simple, small. A template of a drill. So every drill that you see tonight, there'll be templates of, you know, it'll go through the title, the objective, the speed level, the equipment needed, the setup, the relative to the game, description, coaching points, a diagram, and modifications. Okay, this is something I did in my drill manuals that you can get on Amazon, and you'll see that later. Oops, sorry. Offensive line. Okay, so here we go. Okay, for all coaches in here, if you are an O-line coach, let me tell you this right now. You are an offensive linemen don't hold. Okay, offensive linemen do not hold. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. You're only holding when you get caught. So here are the keys of being a star. And some of you coaches might like this a lot. Some of you might disagree with some. But think about, if you want to, make a star and see if you can fill it in. So you probably won't get done now because I'm going to start up. But for the next ones, think if you agree with me. Here we go. First one. What's the biggest one you need to do, right? Not in no certain order. Here we go. Stance, hand placements, and takeoffs. As an offensive line person, if you can get your team to do that, your offense is right now pretty good. Next, pulling drills, fold, kick out, boot. Anything where you're moving around, right? Next one, pass blocking, right? Big on big, slide technique, and gap protection, okay? Now remember, there's different ones that I posted here, but don't do them all. Just do what you're good at. Keep it simple, small. Run blocking, base, down block, double team, reach. Hey, what about the wedge? You know, even if you want to run 10 personnel, 21 personnel, 32 personnel, 22 personnel, you wedge block, you get a push in youth football or any level, unless they're cutting, just go over them. You know, in youth football, 90% of the leagues do not cut it anymore. And next one, center for all. I don't know about you coaches, and maybe if you want to comment, how many times had you ever had a center go down and then all of a sudden you were in trouble? I learned that the hard way as a high school coach. So you always want to make sure, try to make everyone a center. And then make sure you have 4 or 5 of them. And at pre-practice, have them snap. And you're going to see that later today with things. And then be a star at your position. So these are my offensive line star points to be a star and be successful as an offensive at any level of football. In my green book that we'll be talking about later, there's 15 offensive line drills. And in volume 1, for offensive, volume 1 is offense just, there's 9 different drills. So there's 24 different drills that I did. Now, I'm not an offensive guru. You know, there are a lot of coaches that I know that I can say, Gene Crosby, John Konecki, some just to drop a couple names, Bill Deasing, Steve Aminiak, those guys right there, those are offensive lineman gurus in my mind. Here's the little stance for you. If the video does get blurry, please tell me, because we had a problem yesterday. Now, hopefully everyone saw the video. If you notice with the 2 cone drill, there are 2 cones, right? My son's feet were wider than the stance. Now, if you've never done the 2 cone drill with the 2 cones with the things, coaches, I'm telling you right now, it's the greatest thing next to butter. Because I know none of you ever have a problem with telling them to get in the stretch lines, right? No one ever had that problem. I mean, I don't know about you coaches, but you think about how much time you would waste just by teaching them how to line up in stretch lines. You can use a 2 cone drill, and you'll see it later with the grids. You know, the advanced grid is why the big thing, but there's also the grid in my green book. And then in volume 1 is my advanced grid. And the advanced grid has it's like a checkerboard, and you'll see that later today. Oops, sorry. All right, so here we go. I'm only going to do a couple drills for each position, if that's okay. So the first one I have is this. With offensive linemen, everyone first said, right, take 1 step. And then I heard the two steps. But here's the thing, everyone's different. Everyone runs a different type of offense. So what I say is this, when you're doing your drills, do 2 to 5 steps. So the objective is to help players to develop an explosive fast movement out of their stance. You know, for your drill speed levels, do it at every level. Because how many coaches in here, if you went game tempo on day 1, okay, and I know some coaches do that. You gotta admit that. Some of you have seen that. You know, if you've seen your son, your coaches, you know, that's why a lot of those coaches are sons. So they went full speed, and all the kids are standing up. You know, they start here, they're in their stance, and then they just stand straight up. That's not going to help them out when it's running the football or blocking. Equipment needed. Cones are optional. Younger level age, you're going to need cones. For older level kids, you don't need probably cones as much, you know. And the diagram will be on the next page. What's the relative? The offensive lineman will get to the defender faster than them at the point of attack. Because in youth football, we all know this. Some people, and now I think Pop Warner has gone all 2-point stances. If they're in a 2-point stance and they can't get off fast with their 2-point stance, what's going to happen to that one guy on the defensive line that just goes right through? And you guys have seen that numerous times, you coaches. We're always, for some reason, one guy gets through every time. The 2 to 5 steps drill will help immensely for you. Make sure you master the Coach Stone football stance that's in my book, or any other stance modification that you do, okay? What you want to do is align your players in a grid, just like the stance drill. You know, that's the drill that's in my book. The coach should be walking through and instructing the players. All players should complete the drill at the exact same time so they can get maximum reps, maximum participations. Make sure the coach instructs the players on anything, on a proper stance, and the players will assume a proper stance. On the cadence, ready, set, go, or ready, set, hike, or however you guys do your cadence. Instruct the players to complete the proper steps. Coach can take any necessary corrections in the stance as well as the first 2 steps. Once they get the first 2 steps mastered, then you want to go to the 5 steps. So this is what I'm talking about. Coaches, if you see the little circles, those are cones, okay? If you look at the cones and you set them up, you can do your stretches like this. You do pretty much any drill you want like this, okay? You can do your tackling drills like this with tackle circuits, turnover circuits, things like that. So that the circle, the big circle, the alignment, that's the person. The 2 cones are so their feet, boom, boom, go on the outside. And that's what you could do. And then if you see on the next page, these are different types of blocks. You know, the base is to the right, you know, base right, left, left, right, down block, angle, left, right, double team. Some of this terminology you see on the thing, some of you guys use it, some of you call it something different. But you can make on your practice plan a list of different blocks and movements that you can incorporate with your grid. Okay, you'll find a lot more offensive line drills like we said in there. We'll do, if you have any questions, please put them up there. Well, mine is up top. Put them in there and I'll answer them at the Q&A session at the end. And then, like I said, again, there's 24 books there. Next one now, make your star for wide receivers. What would you do for a wide receiver? Okay, no certain order again. Well, you got to have the one thing, right? So you all got the first point right. It's stance. And if you have a stance, you got to make sure he takes off with no false steps. You also got to make sure releases are going. Because if you ever, how many coaches in here, think about it here, you don't throw the ball much, even if you have a quarterback that throws it, because they can't get off a stalk corner. A press corner. If they're pressed and you can't get them on them, there's no reason to throw. Next one, reading blocks. After they catch the ball or get the handoff in reverse, can they read the block? Route technique, using cones. Coaches, try it. Put those little soccer cones down, have them run a hitch. Instead of just saying, go run out there, son, or go run out there, daughter. Because here's the thing, coaches, these kids are 5 through 18 or older. Some of them never ran a hitch route. And every coach is different. Some run 3 yards, some run 4 yards, some run 5 yards, some run 6 yards. Blocking. This is one thing I'll tell you at Boylan we do. If you don't block, you don't play receiver. So blocking is the key. Catching the ball. That's huge. And ball security. Be a star of your position. In my green book, there's 13. In my volume 1, there's 5 different drills from 13. Stance and takeoffs. We did it again. Now this is what we're doing. We use lines or use cones to represent yard lines. Okay? Coaches, if you don't have yard lines, then just mark off your cones with every 2. Just like you saw earlier. Having a good stance gets you to point A to point B faster, and the timing with the quarterback. Wide receivers will align arms length away, so they'll just spread their arms out. Basic PE stuff that we've done before in the past. You know, if cones are available, please do them for both cones, like I said earlier. Wide receiver stance, shoulder width apart, back leg in a racing stance. Wide receivers should always have their inside foot towards the quarterback. Some people are different, knees over toes, chest over toe, inside foot, back of foot heel to the ground, racing stance. Arms should look like a boxer, so you're like this. Some coaches like them down, but if you got a press corner, I always like keep them as a boxer stance, eyes up, looking. Not just looking here, you're looking at the ball. Okay? Because how do you know they can hear the cadence? Because if that quarterback has got that mouthpiece in, they're not going to hear that cadence at all. Especially if they have a press corner. Now they're worried about the press corner, and they got to look at the ball. So you got to train the eyes with the eyes looking up. On the movement, remember, or on cadence, take off, fire low, come out like a plane, no false step. If you are a youth coach or any level coach, check your film on offense, see how many of your receivers take a false step. Because if you think about it, that if you make that faster, then they can get to the ball faster. You want them to go sprint for 7 yards and stop. And if you want to use a whistle, be my guest, because what does whistle mean? Stop. So when the last person gets past the 5 yards, stop them. Then the coach will repeat the process. So what I mean by that, okay, going to this, here's some coaching points, okay? We're just going to do this, and like I said, you can see this later, but let me do this. If you look at the receiver stance, this is the whole length of the field. If you get 30 yards, 40 yards, you can do this. Put every receiver up there. A coach you can put your coach anywhere you want, every stamp. They sprint 7 yards, they stop, then they come back to the 5, sprint 7, come back 5, sprint 7, come back 5. So they're moving down the field, and they're realigning after every 5 yards. You can make it competitive once all the receivers have mastered it. Who's the fastest out of the stance? Do it with a move, on air first, okay? And then you can do different types of takeoffs with the line of scrimmage. Going back to coaching points, you need to make sure the receivers understand the stance. Some players will get it right away. Some might need some help. Look for false steps. Make sure you're not always going on one. Have them look at the ball, because you can go ready, set, go, and not move the ball, and then all of a sudden they jump off sides. Make sure they run past the 5 yards. Use a visual cone like a football or something, not just cadence. First movement forward, no wasted movement. Pole catching, okay? And I tried to get the video to load, and I apologize, coaches. But, we have a light pole right by our house. My son, not even a goal pole catching, will go out there, make our diamonds, and catch the ball just using a light pole. You can tell your kids to do that. It's awesome. Send me a video if you want to. I'd love to see them, But these are pretty cool. So you don't have to use a field goal post. You can use a regular pole right outside your house possibly that's on the grass, and just throw the ball to them. Make sure your arms are always extended. Don't keep them there. What drill level is that? That's pretty much a walk drill level, because they're just standing there. Goal post or a pole and footballs. The other thing, relative to the game, if a receiver can catch with their hands and not just their body, they'll be more effective as a receiver. The receiver will stand on one side of the goalpost, arms extended, reaching out to the opposite side of the goalpost. The coach will throw the football. Now, coaches, if you're not great at throwing football, practice it first, And then some kids got to realize if they think the ball's going to come at their face, just move their body away and just don't forget about it, so they can get their confidence up. Also, like we talked about, the distance. Some kids are going to need to be this close. Some kids can be that far apart. Just see what type of player you have. I'm sorry the whole thing stretched out, but I wanted to make sure you guys saw it filled out on the page. And then you have other modifications. You can make a tunnel. If the kids got really good at it, you guys remember making those tunnels where the players make their arms? Perfect. Now, some coaches will say, well, coach, why are you having a circus line right now? Well, really, you don't. If they have that. 2, if they're waiting in line, you can have every receiver have a ball and start boom, boom, catching it with their hands like that. So just because you have one pole doesn't mean everyone else has to do something. You can give someone else something else. Or you can have them be in a square and then just catch, pluck it, tuck it. Pluck it, tuck it. Here's another one, catch galore. This one's for catching the footballs and ball security. This one could be a jog modification with drill speed level with a jog modification. This is, now why do I call it catching galore 500? You guys remember the 500 game? It's just like that. So the only difference is You don't have to keep a score. You could if you want to. That could be a cool modification, but it helps you with it. And if you look under, you start the players 5 to 10 yards apart and then place cones right next to them as a stance. Emphasize how the ball catching needs to be catched and tuck it first before running. So you can first just pluck it, tuck it. You can pluck it, tuck it, and turn and run. You can do any modification for this. It's usually players. So if you have a person here, they will throw the ball here, boom, throw the ball back, throw the ball back, throw the ball back. Okay, and you're going to see the diagram in the next thing. Okay, so here we go. So this drill, if you see it with the 2 cones, the players would put their feet with the 2 cones, just like you saw in my son's video earlier. They would, 1, catch above the waist, boom. Below the waist, pinky to pinky, or M&Ms, be a winner, like we'd say, right? Kids, be a winner. Catch the ball to one side. That's where you turn your whole body, and all you do is you leave the cones there, and then just step, boom, and then stick the arm out that way. Then switch sides, go the other way. Then what you want to do is then you got over the shoulder one way, over the shoulder the other way, highest point, they can jump and go get it. And then if you want to, you can add the Odell one where they just catch it with one hand for fun. You know, that's not in here, but that's one thing you can do. Okay, like I said, we'll do all the Q&A at the end if that's okay, coaches. But if you want to, just give you a heads up. There's a lot more drills in my book. We are now going to go to quarterbacks. Quarterbacks is very simple. What do you need to be successful to be a quarterback? I used to play quarterback. I played middle school quarterback. I played high school quarterback. I played collegiate quarterback, and I played indoor football quarterback with 8-on-8. So what do you need? 1, no certain order. Stance and drops, right? Can your quarterback get a stance and drop back? Next one, FBI. What is FBI? I did it earlier, right? I didn't say it then. FBI is football intelligence. Coach Vic Clark taught me that at Rockford College back in the day. That was my first college coaching job. I was a GA, and I'm very grateful because if it wasn't for him and Coach Green, I would never have met my wife. Next one, passing mechanics. You know, some kids are really good, right? But then once you put those shoulder pads on, what happens to them? So passing mechanics. If there's any high school coaches listening, okay, this is what I do, okay? You go to 7-on-7, have your quarterbacks wear shoulder pads. Have them wear shoulder pads and helmets, just them. Because that's how they're going to throw on a Friday night or a Saturday. And if youth teams do that, put shoulder pads and helmet on them. Best thing to do for the kid. Meshing, option, and zone read. Some of this is for youth, some of it's for high school, some of it's for college. Ball handling and agility. Got to be able to move in the pocket and protect the football. In my green book, this number's a little skewed now because it's really true. There's 43 drills in my green book for quarterbacks. Coach Ricky Upton, you know, back in Maryville High School, he's won multi-state championships in Tennessee. He said I should have just written a quarterback book. 43 in that one and 4 in my volume 1. Golfer stance. How many youth coaches in here ever had their quarterback get stepped on? If you ever had that, this drill's for you. Okay? I'm not going to go through this. I'm just going to show you the video, the picture. And these are all the coaching points for it. So they're all right there, no wasted movements. But it's a golfer stance. So if you are a righty, any coaches you want to try this right now, if you're a right-handed person, put your right foot in front, put your left foot back so you know how where your foot's connect like a puzzle piece. Do that, and that will get them out of the ball faster. Now, how does that do that? Well, if they're a righty, remember they turn and open up. So they're already a half a step when the center backs up. If they're a lefty, go the other way. I'm a lefty. You know, I learned this back when I was in college. in high school. This is an awesome thing to do. If you do a golfer stance, bend your knees and everything like I do in my coach's points. And like I said, with the coach's points, you'll see these. And if you want a copy, you're more than happy to email me a PDF for this. Okay? Have quarterbacks snap to each other to simulate the third hand technique. What's the third hand? They get the ball, they bring it into your chest. That's their third hand. Because how many times does the quarterback take a snap, turn, and then someone knocks the ball loose? So take the ball, third hand it. Another one is a clock drill. The clock drill is to ensure footwork, arm placement, and everything. So all this is now is you're doing your drill, you're taking it in your third hand, and you're opening up to your clock, you know? And if you look how the clock is, it's on the side. It just opens, you know, open to 3. We're doing outside zone, open to 3 if you're under center. If you're running like a 22 blast, you'll see on the next page, you just open up at 12. And this is a cool thing for your quarterbacks. I would definitely recommend, if you ever have trouble at a shotgun or center, use the clock drill. You'll be amazed with it. Okay, the clock is a reference. It is always a sideways clock. So the center is 6. So if you are right now playing, you are at 6. And you take that snap, and once you bring it in, you either open at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd really see you go at 5 or 7. Some coaches might use that, but I mean, I've only done 4 and 8 when I got to do outside zone. And I mean, like, we're really getting out there. You know, an example I have, always get as deep as possible for your handoffs. Youth coaches, high school coaches, if you're under center and you get that ball back to your stud athlete, because you know what the favorite play in youth football is, right? Toss. Get the ball to the outside, because if you get to the ball to the outside, you're already touchdown up. So your first step, this is just a 22 lead. This is a play we used to run in middle school when I was a head coach. Just open up, step at 12 o'clock, get the ball in third hand, get back as fast as possible. The deeper you can get back there, the more likely your running back will be able to find a hole, and easier to do that. With every play, make sure you finish out also. Coaches, if you ever videotape practice, and this goes for every level, youth, high school, or college, when your quarterback hands that ball off, watch what he does. If he does not boot or do a play action until that whistle's blown, you need to fix that, because that's a great tell when coaches are watching film. So make sure they always finish out either with a boot, a play action when they do their handoff. And like I said, we'll do questions at the end. I know we already have a couple up. I'm sorry if I didn't answer any yet. Okay, running backs. And we're almost done, coaches, just so you know. What is the key to be a running back? Well, everyone's going to get the first one right, correct? Stance and takeoffs. Favorite play in youth football. Toss, get to the outside. Next thing, catching and running technique. If you can catch the football and run the football, you have a back that you want to get that ball in their hands all the time, coaches. If they can do both, go for it. Pass and run block. You know, and all youth coaches and high school coaches, you know this. You have a player that they can run the ball like a deer. They can run real fast, run like a banshee, I always say. But then they can't block a cold, right? So that's things you need to work on. So instead of having that kid in practice run toss 500 times when you know he's going to score 40 out of the 500 times, right? Even though he's going to get a first down every time, teach him how to run and block for someone else. Reading blocks. You know, there's drills you can do where you set up, people, and then all of a sudden the ball snaps and they close in, close out, and the back just runs right through that hole. Mesh and ball security is huge, okay? If you want to, go get a high and tight ball. They're awesome. Go check them online, Google them. You hold them and they beep. They are phenomenal. I love them, especially at the high school level. Be a star at your position. In the green book, there's 12 drills. In the volume 1, there's 6 drills. So there's a total of 18 different drills in there. Now, mesh and ball security, right? We all know this drill, and I'm just going to go to it. If you notice, I said red cones and green cones in the picture, in the equipment needed. So everyone's going to see this drill and be like, Coach, I've done this drill 100 times, right? So if you look at this drill, green light, red light, what does that mean? Well, how many times have you done this mesh drill, the old school mesh drill? Start here, start here. This guy runs, hands the ball to this guy, then this guy runs and hands it off to the next guy, right? And how many times are their elbows right or wrong? Okay? You got to admit, they do it sometimes. So what you do is green, go, red is stop on the bottom. So if you notice, if a back on the left side on my screen runs to the other green cone, he is running to the high elbow. And then what's going to happen is he's going to hand the ball off. Then that guy's going to take the ball and then run it to that green side. So then they are always like that. Now, modifications you can even do where you hand the ball off in the middle if you do reverses. That's, hey, listen, go for it. But don't start right away with that. Have them run to them, hand it off, boom. And this drill should be like this. If you have more than 10 backs, then you need to make 2 different groups, if that makes sense. Run, switch, juke, spin, stiff arm, cover up, and go. This is a drill we do at Rockford Boylan even. This is a drill I brought with our tailbacks. This year we had 4,000 yards of total offense. Now, I'm not saying this drill did it, but this drill helps us do all the things above, okay? What you do is you have the 2 cones, okay? I'm just going to show you if that's okay. So you have the 2 cones. Everyone see it. The backs line up. Boom, 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 boom. You will say run. They'll have the ball high and tight. Run, switch. While they're still doing it, their feet are moving. Boom, 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 boom. And then when you say, you could say stiff arm too, right? Boom, stiff arm. Once you do those drills, you can switch them up. You can go run, switch, stiff arm. Run, switch, run. And they're all moving their feet. Boom, 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 boom. You can even say cover up. When you say the word go, though, they run. They shouldn't false step. They should go right now. And then you can add juke spin in that group. Once you do that, and they sprint 7 yards, I'm sorry, more than 10, 12 yards, then they stop and they start over again. And then do the same thing over and over again. And then what I love is, like, you know, we had players last year and the year before that have done this. They loved running the drill. They're like, coach, we got this. This is awesome. And they'd be like, run, 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 switch. Run, 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 switch. Stiff arm. Run, 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 switch, go, boom, and then go. This is hilarious. You can also, coaches, at modification on the bottom, add commands that make the players laugh. You know, huge thing with Fortnite, right? Every coach hates it. But what are we doing right now? We're talking. That's what kids are doing on Fortnite to win that game. So communication's key. Make a game of Fortnite out of it. Any game you do. In my running back green book, I have 12 drills, and in my volume 1, I have 6. Okay, tight ends. This one's going to be hilarious. You guys are all going to laugh at this. Ready? I know some people don't even have tight ends anymore, right? We do. We love to run 12 personnel. 2-point, 3-point stance, hand placement, takeoffs. Pulling drills. Fold, kick out, boot. Sounds like an offensive lineman, right? Pass blocking, right? Got a pass block. Catching, running routes, carrying the football. Run blocking. Base, down, double team, reach, wedge. Those are the drills to be a star at the tight end position. And there's a lot of drills. I'm just going to tell you that right now. This is how fast tight ends is. Are you ready? The list of all my books, all the drills in my book, use any of the running back, wide receiver, O-line drills. If you use all those, you're good to go. Okay? All right, teaching the grid, the advanced grid, okay? And then I'm going to go really fast now. The advanced grid is like the next level of learning, right? It's like growth mindset as teachers, okay? You'll see on the next slide, and I'll show you. It's like a checkerboard. Now, does it take longer to do it? If you can do it, I'd recommend it, but here it is. So it's pretty much just make a checkerboard in your end zone if you can do it, coaches. Plus, the kids will like it for doing it. I know no one in here paints their own field, right? No one's ever done that before as either a high school, youth, or college coach. Here's a few advantages if you do a grid, right? You put a player either in the grid or on the side of the grid or inside the square. Players can use the line to visualize how to step properly. They can allow the coaches and staff and players to make sure they stand on the right path when performing the movement. Allow the quarterback to visually drop back in a straight line. It doesn't kill the grass if it's on the main football lines. You know, we're going to score anyway, so why not make a mess in the end zone? And the advantages are endless. You can do this for any position, offense, defense, special teams, anything. Group drills really quick. You can do quarterbacks, receivers, quarterback running backs, quarterback O-line, 9-on-7, and 7-on-7 drills for group drills, remember.